My name is Allan Beek.
And how old are you?
I am 89.
And when were you born?
January 23rd, 1927.
And where were you born?
Loma Linda Sanitarium. Mother went up there because she was quite sick. In fact, she was advised to have me aborted to save her life. She refused.
That's an interesting story. And there seems to be a lot of context. Would you care to delve into that at all, or?
She wanted her baby, but she worked very actively on behalf of the right of choice later in life. Because she was elderly, they picked her to appear in some publicity thing with Ally McGraw, the actress. And she thought that was fun, hobnobbing with Ally while they were fooling around.
So, is that your father then? But no. That you were talking about an actress right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you grew up with this actress then?
No.
Oh.
My mother just encountered her at some publicity thing and fighting for the right to have an abortion.
I see. And this was after you were born, though, correct?
Long after.
Long after. Okay. How old was your mom? Do you know?
Yes, she was born in 1899.
1899. Okay.
Said she was going to live in 3 centuries, but she didn't make it.
Now, how did your mom and dad meet? Do you happen to know that story?
That it turns out that that's a matter of controversy.
Really?
I just found out.
Really?
The story I had always heard was that he went to an academy with her 2 older brothers, and they became acquainted and friends at the academy, and he was invited to a garden party they were having at their house, at which their younger sister would play the violin. And when he heard that beautiful girl play the second movement of Mendelssohn's Violin Concerto on her violin, that was it. He was a good deal older. He was 20 years older than she was. Born in 1880.
Was that fairly uncommon? And was that fairly taboo for someone her much larger than her senior to come elope?
Well, I don't know. I don't think it was taboo. Anyway, the wedding was a success, but having been brought up on the Colorado prairies as a little boy, as an orphan, his father died when he was 13, and he worked for the Conservation Corps and building dams and things like that, and so he worked his way up quite a bit, and here I'm spoiled rotten, brought up on the bayfront of Balboa Island. Just in the lap of luxury and a silver spoon in my mouth. What he managed to achieve is pretty remarkable.
Now, how long was he in the Civilian Conservation Corps for, the CCC?
Oh, not very long, I don't think. That was while he was back there in New Mexico, Arizona. We worked in the desert. He had a bunch of cousins. They were double cousins. There was a brother and a sister, married a sister and a brother. So all the children in the 2 families were not just cousins, they were double cousins. But the other family got started 10 years ahead of his. He was the oldest over here, and Uncle Harry was the oldest over there. And so a bunch of those were already established. And he came out here to California and stayed with some of them while they went to the academy. And he had a knack for meeting and getting friends with important and influential people. All of a sudden he knew a lot of judges, and he went to Sacramento and got a job in the Senate up there, and pretty soon he was Secretary of the Senate, and he was Secretary of the Senate for 50 years.
And when was he confirmed to the Senate?
Come again?
When was he confirmed to the Senate? Confirmed. Like, when was he confirmed to his appointment?
Well, the Senate elected him every year. They elect their officers, the Secretary and the Sergeant at Arms. And he became Secretary, I think, in 1919.
Wow. And so this was 7 years before you were born, because you were born in 1926, you said?
27, yeah.
27, I apologize.
How many brothers and sisters do you have?
2 brothers, older and a younger.
Okay.
So I can't criticize either way.
And sister? You have a sister? Did you mention that?
I had 2 daughters.
Oh,
Two
two
daughters.
daughters. Okay.
Now, do you stay in touch with your brothers at all?
Well, I'm in touch with Seymour, who's living in the old family house right now. And he was, as I mentioned, Man of the Year a couple of years ago. He has taken over being the president of the ferry business. Now, there's a story how we got in the ferry business. Collins subdivided Balboa Island. Dad came down here in 1913 to work his way through college, selling lots on Balboa Island for Collins. And as happened with waterfront developers in those days, Collins went broke. And people that bought the places on Balboa Island came down in the big red cars from Los Angeles and the Pacific Electric to the peninsula. And then Collins had a ferry that took him over to the island. Well, when he went broke, he couldn't run the ferry anymore. Ferry service stopped, and these people couldn't get home. And they petitioned the city council to do something about it, and the council said, well, all right, we'll charter a ferry line. What are the takers for a ferry line charter? Well, you know the old comment about first liar doesn't have a chance. One man said he'd start up next month if they'd give him the franchise. Second guy said he'd start next week. Dad said, I'll start tomorrow morning. So he got the franchise. He said, all I had was a rowboat, an outboard, and a pair of oars. And the outboard didn't always work, but the oars always worked. And so he ferried people back and forth in his rowboat, and that's the beginning of the Balboa Island ferry line.
Now, do you have any recollections of taking the Pacific Electric rail car or the red car at all?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was the way we went to Los Angeles. We went in to see the Gilbert and Sullivan operettas. And I have seen and heard Rachmaninoff and Paderewski and, of course, Rubinstein. And they've all performed in Los Angeles. Oh, and Giza King. I've seen all those people perform right there for me, chiefly in the old Philharmonic, which is now gone.
Now, did any of them come down to Newport Beach to play at all?
No.
Or?
But Heifetz made a home down here. I don't think he ever performed down here.
Now, another question. Did you ever go to Shark Island before it was developed to Linda?
Yes.
What did you used to do?
Well, it used to be the way you got to Harbor Island. The channel around Shark Island wasn't there. It was just continuous mud flats, you might say. And the road to Harbor Island came from where Bayside Drive meets the Coast Highway, came straight out across and hit Harbor Island in the middle. The first bridge to Harbor Island was there was a little central road in Harbor Island, pavement, and that's where the traffic came in. And then when they dredged the harbor, they redid that and moved the bridge to the east end of Harbor Island. And I can't remember when the channel around Shark Island was dredged. I would guess it was probably around 38 or so. But until then, it had been just wide open to us. After it was a separate island, when I began courting my wife, who lived over in Bayshores, I would walk to the end of Balboa Island and swim over to Beacon Bay and walk up to Harbor Island and swim over to Shark Island and walk across that and then swim over to Bayshores and spend the afternoon with her. And then she'd drive me home so I wouldn't have to give up my parking place on the street in Balboa Island.
So parking back then was still an issue.
Yes.
Still persists today. I live on the island currently too, so.
Well, some years ago, at a meeting of the Balboa Improvement Association. There was some little discussion. And not for long, an old gentleman stood up and he said, "What is this talk about a parking problem? We have no parking problem." He says, "If you're determined, you can always find a place to park in just 15 or 20 minutes of looking. We have no parking problem." And everybody said, "Yeah, that's right. Let's not talk about that." And they all agreed there's no parking problem.
I can definitely attest that there is, being a current resident. With that, I had another question. Dang it, I just forgot.
That was one of my sorrows when I was on the Planning Commission. I tried to get the rule that you had to have 2 parking places for every dwelling unit. And that would have required people to have at least garages and carports for all those duplexes on the island. That was outvoted 4-3, and the deciding vote was cast by Debbie Allan, who is now quite prominent in Newport business. I think she's still the chair of Newport Tomorrow, or whatever that citizens group is. And she and Hal Thomas and I had quite a time on the Planning Commission. We were always outvoted 4-3. But that one, she, well, as I put it, she stabbed me in the back. The island would have been much better if there'd been more required on-site parking.
Now, did you ever interact with the Hershey family on the island?
No. I don't even know. No, this is the Hershey family that ran the grocery.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I just knew it was there, and we patronized it some. But chiefly, we patronized the one only 2 blocks away from us up by the ferry.
Oh, that makes sense. Now, did you ever used to go to the Village Inn or the Jolly Rogers?
Yes, yes, we had dinner often at the Village Inn. I don't think we patronized. In fact, I don't think the Jolly Roger was there. I don't remember when it appeared. When I was courting my wife, we often went to Merle's on the corner of MacArthur and Coast Highway, which was one of the last places I think I'd ever seen where they had car hops. You could order your stuff from the car without getting out. The girl would come out and bring it to you.
Huh. Now we're jumping around. Do you remember ever running into any celebrities on the island? Do you know who Paul Mance was or Frank Tallman?
No.
Do you have any memorable experiences of meeting any celebrities on the island or around Newport Beach?
Well, I think Yasha Heifetz is good enough. Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall joined the Newport Harbor Yacht Club for a time, and I've raced a dinghy against Humphrey. Not 2 of us. There were 7 or 8 in the race, and one photographer who was quick with the trigger caught a picture of one of the meetings with my brother and his wife sitting next to Humphrey and Lauren at a meeting of some sort at the yacht club. But
did you ever have any personal interactions with Humphrey Bogart or Lauren Bacall?
Other than he was one of those boats that passed me when I couldn't get around the mark in time.
Did you ever interact with John Wayne when he was around the area? Interesting. Now, how long have you would say you've lived in Corona del Mar for?
I lived in Corona del Mar for about a year. And then when I got married, my wife and I lived in Rex Brant's studio apartment for the first few months before we moved over to Redondo, where I was working. And she was teaching then, and she finished her teaching year before we moved. And well, she had enrolled in Rex's class. She'd taken a class in painting from Rex, and he was giving a class during that time. And works of art were often set up in the patio that were drying and so on. And he kind of bugged us to buy some of these paintings that hadn't moved in the art stores. Well, one day we came in and he had just come in from class. He had put on a 30-minute demonstration for his class, and here it was drying. And we both instantly said, "That's it. That's the one we want." They wanted it too. But we got it, and it's on my wall at home right now. And I think it's Rex's finest. It's the best thing he ever did.
Aww.
It is just great. And he whipped it off in half an hour just as a demonstration for the class. And there's an example of a guy with a challenge who did his best work.
And that's now on your wall.
It's on my wall. I'll be leaving it to my daughter, but I think I should get hold of the people who keep track of Rex's work and register it with him, because it's a secret. Nobody knows we have it except us.
We'll look into that for you, actually, if you want us to. We'll see how we can get you in contact with them.
Right.
Now,
I have been to see some of the demonstrations of Rex's little sketchbooks, and those are just, oh my God, they're just wonderful. He was really very talented. I admire Rex enormously, and it was great, sharing the house, living in their apartment, and we've kept in touch with him over the years.
So you guys were really close.
In fact, I have to admit that I sent him that joke about the theft of the valuable works of art from the Louvre. You've not heard that joke? About he stole all these valuable things, and the police apprehended him just 2 blocks away when his getaway van ran out of gas. And in the police station, somebody was interviewing him and said, "How could you pull this defeat all this high-tech stuff around the Louvre and then fail on something so simple and dumb?" And in his broken English, "No, I got to work on this."
No pressure. The punchline's coming.
Oh, I haven't told this one for a while. The punchline has to go just right.
Well, how about this? That actually will give us an opportunity to come back and interview you, too, to make sure you remember.
Oh, I've got 2/3 of it. Well, I'll just have to give you
The punchline.
I now have de monnaie for de gas.
Ha! I get it, Monet. And the gas.
And there's one more in there.
Well, I do have a quick question. Do you remember the giant storms that destroyed the piers back in '39? The Balboa Pier and the Newport Pier.
I would not testify to the piers being destroyed. I did not know of any piers ever being destroyed. I do remember there was a very strong hurricane which drove a big yacht ashore in the harbor entrance. And Dad was up at Santa Barbara with the old, that 30-foot Vamos, and he started to come home, and there was a cruise boat that was stuck. It was evidently on the rocks and being driven further ashore all the time, and with a crowd of people on it. But he could get up near it, and he tried to signal they should jump in and swim over, and he could take them ashore one by one, or 3 by 3 or something. Evidently their captain ordered them that was not a safe thing to do. They should stay with the ship. So he gave up and went away, and found out later it had continued onto the rocks, and practically everybody on it had been killed.
Wow. That's...
He did bring in a couple of boats that were in trouble, dragged him into Santa Barbara Harbor. Ended up tying up to a mooring that was not occupied except by a pelican who wasn't going to go and fly anywhere. They tied the rope right underneath the pelican. He wasn't moving off of there.
He was just looking down like, okay. Now, with a culmination of living in Newport Beach, if you could basically summarize your experience of living in Newport, what would you say to the future generations of living here? What should they be made aware of from your experiences?
Well, everything takes money. It didn't take so much money, fortunately, in those days. We both had snowbirds and raced them. Barton won the flight of the snowbirds. Tended to take off on Barton because he was such an outstanding lawyer. I got that from, independent sources. Things would come back to me from somewhere else. What a great lawyer he was. Oh, well, I guess Bill Ficker is probably a pretty outstanding person since he won the Star International and he won the America's Cup. And Bill Ficker and I have been on opposite sides of political issues in Newport. And the papers have made a thing of it once in a while. And we both sailed at the same time. He began racing snowbirds about the time I was around 14 or 15. But he quickly got much better than I at sailing and racing. And he's good at giving roasts. They had him give a roast for one of the yachtsmen, and when my brothers and Barton's company had an appreciation dinner for him, they got Bill Ficker to come and give a roast. And after it was over, and we've been hearing all this praise and praise and praise and praise, and then Bill did his thing, and Barton afterwards said, "Thank God for Bill Ficker." And one of the political battles, Bill fought hard for the Irvine Company side, and I fought hard for the residents. We'll be having another of those coming up very shortly now. There's going to be another referendum. And but it was a special election, so that counting the ballots only took about 20 minutes. And we drove with the city clerk up to Santa Ana, where they delivered the ballots, and through the machine in 20 minutes we had our answer. We'd won. So we came back down and went to our victory party at Bobby Lovell's house, and in a few minutes the phone rang. It's for Allan Beek. It's Bill Ficker. I said, "Can I come to that party? This one's no fun." So Bill is really a great guy, with one exception. He's out there fighting to kill everybody's right to have an abortion. That's not your business what you do with your body. It's his business, and he's going to stop you. But aside from that, he's always on the wrong side of political things. Bill's a great guy. And, of course, an outstanding sailor. Jesus Christ. What can you do besides winning the Star International and the America's Cup? That's it.
Wow. Well, Allan, I would like to say thank you for your time here today. It was fun to hear about your life story and to kind of learn some very personal, moments of your life that I think are very important.
Well, they're not Newport Beach history. They're just my own personal history.
Well, your personal history does interact with our town, and it is a part of our history.
It's very relatable.
Very relatable. Well,
My dad gave me this belt I'm wearing right now.
Huh.
That belt buckle has been in intimate contact with the top of Mount Rainier
Whoa.
because the crampons got tangled on my feet as I reached the top, and I fell flat on my face across the top of Mount Rainier, and this buckle was right on the top.
Huh.
And so I still wear that belt, and Dad gave me a VW Bug for a gift in 1961. It was new, and I'm still driving it.
So it's out in the parking lot right now?
It's out in the parking lot.
Oh, I'm going to have to take a picture of that. That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Well, I've got pictures of it. I'm now painted bright yellow. It's a yellow I'm very proud of. And I got a license number that I'm very proud of. 1234 ETC. And I've been one-upped. Guy went by me flying an ABCDETC. He got 5 in a row.
Good for him. Wow. Well, thank you, Allan. We really appreciate it.
And I want to take one more minute.
Please. Talk
I
as
went
much as you want.
to UCI the first year it was there, when it opened up, 1965 and 66, and took some graduate math courses. And they let me have a teaching assistantship. I taught calculus and statistics. And in my calculus class, along toward the end of the year, June 1966, here came a paper, 6666. How about that, Mr. Beek? So, of course, I wrote on it, the question is, where will you be and where will I be on 7777? And where we were was we had dinner together. And she and her husband and my wife and I had dinner together on 8/8/88 and on 9/99.
What?
And as January 1st, 2011 approached, I wrote to them up in Morro Bay where they'd moved and said, we're going to be together on New Year's. And her husband responded, she died of sudden cancer last October.
But what an amazing actual intimate story about you basically becoming one of the first teachers at UCI, and then having just a remarkable friendship come from that.
Yeah.
That's really special, Allan. That's really...
Well, one of the students in that statistics class, 42 years later, I was up in Sacramento testifying about something, and here was this guy who's a deputy attorney for the county of Los Angeles, and he heard me give my name, and he came up and nailed me afterwards in the hall. So I was in that statistics class you taught at UCI in 1967.
See,
Wow.
you say that a lot of these stories don't relate to Newport Beach, but that's not what I hear or what I see. And I know that's my perspective, but Allan, your family and yourself, you have had a giant impact on our town. And
Well, Dad had quite an impact.
yeah, but by extension, you have had yourself.
You've touched a lot of lives.
Yeah.
A lot of
I've
lives.
had a lot of fun, but I don't think it's impacted Newport much. Well, in 2000, I wrote and pushed and shepherded Greenlight. The amendment to the city charter said a vote of the people is required for any major amendment to the general plan. I was proud of that line. That's a short, simple line, and it gets the essence of what it was. And we passed it. And the Catholic Church said vote no. The Episcopal Church said vote no. 6 former mayors said vote no. Bill Ficker said vote no. The Daily Pilot said vote no. The Orange County Register said vote no. The LA Times said vote no. $750,000 of campaign spending said vote no. And the people voted yes, 2-1.
Wow. See, and you say you have no impact.
Yeah,
You-
wow.
The Pilot named me the Newsmaker of the Year
Wow.
in 2000.
Oh.
And when I was out getting the signatures to get it on the ballot, one lady signed on September 3rd, 1999. And I said, gee, September 3rd, that's just 60 years since World War II started. She said, you're wrong. I'm from Poland.
Ooh.
She said, the Germans invaded on September 1st. It took 3 days for the British and the French to get around to declaring war. So I stand corrected.
Wow.
Wow.
Is she still alive by chance?
I don't know. I didn't notice what name she signed. I didn't keep in touch. I have met a lady over at Oasis that was born on the same day I was born.
Over in Poland?
Pardon?
Over in Poland?
I didn't catch it.
No, not in Poland though. She wasn't born in Poland.
No. This is somebody else.
Okay.
And my 18th birthday I enjoyed. That was on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's nice. I'm not going to live long enough to see a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 again.
Yeah, even I might not do that. That's still about 4 years away. But thank you, Alan. I really appreciate your time today. Unfortunately, my camera is about to die. But we would love to sit here and keep talking to you.
Well, I love to pontificate, but don't get me started in all my theories about economics and politics.
Oh,